So there's a little bit of a misconception with this particular game in that it's called Fairy Godmom because the F is initialed as though it's an abbreviation of something. But the game never actually refers to itself as Fairy Godmom at any point. So even if that's what the F stands for, the game is officially known as F Godmom. And it even says right there, welcome to F Godmom. And designed by John Blackwell with some support from Nels Anderson on the sound stuff. And for some reason, there's a special thanks to Tom and Adrian of id Software. Don't actually know why on that one. But in any case, press any key to continue, game is shareware, send the registration. Actually, it's kind of interesting. Notice how it says a registration's fee of $5, $10, or $20. That's because he actually split this out. So it says here it was tips and secrets for $5, an extra 50 levels for $10, and then $20 would get you a manual or sort of a solutions manual, kind of like a strategy guide or something. But I also happen to know from looking this up online that once he created a Windows version of this game, he actually offered a level editor at the $20 mark as well. But that was for the Windows version only. There wasn't a level editor for the DOS version, at least not for other people to use. But in any case, so the game we have here, well actually there should be a story in here somewhere. It's probably in the rules. So the story so far, 50 members of the elite fairy Godmothers Corps have been captured in an insidious dimensional trap, and the director of the Corps has decided that you are their best hope for freedom. To free your fellow Corps members, you must unlock the dimensional trap by collecting 7 magic coins from each of 50 levels. Armed only with a magic wand of transformation, you must make your way across 50 levels while avoiding killer crabs and dangerous dimensional implosions. If you succeed, your fellow Godmoms will be freed and will dance for joy in your honor. So yeah, this is basically a puzzle platformer, kind of akin to, Lode Runner? But here in F Godmom, the idea is instead that you have a magic wand that you can shoot as many tiles as is possible to the left or right, and that copies whatever it hits, and then you can temporarily transform other objects into that copied object for about 5 seconds, and then the transformation wears off. But during that time, it basically behaves like if it was whatever it actually was, and literally anything on the playfield is fair game. I say anything on the playfield, but it makes note here that iron is immune to the magic. So you can't copy iron objects, nor can you transform iron objects into other copied things. So it starts us off in a paused state every time we begin a level, and we can see that we have 20 lives, so it starts you with a lot of lives, and we gotta collect the pennies. So we can walk around, pretty simple, we can go up ladders, and then we have one button to copy something, and then another to actually transform. And I mean, yeah, that was kind of a dumb thing to do, but again, it only lasts for 5 seconds, so it's a little difficult to completely mess up in this game, but you certainly could. But now that we've got a ladder copied, we can transform these walls and just walk right through. But yeah, you can like copy the key and transform this crab into a key. There's just one little problem. It's going to turn back into a crab, right? So if you're carrying that crab turned into a key when it turns back into a crab, that's not going to be fun. But then that's kind of a way to like move things. So let me give you an example here. Let's go around this way so I can get up to where this penny is over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this piece of ladder right here. Well, copy the penny, and then transform that ladder piece into a penny. But you're going to notice that when it runs off here, there's now a ladder here, and that ladder is going to be permanent. So by transforming something into a penny, I got to do this again here, copy the penny, transform it, and then we can just move this wherever we want. Although we do have to be a little careful because what ends up happening if 2 objects end up on top of each other, like if you were to like do the whole trick with the penny there and like put a ladder on top of a ladder, you would basically create a tear in the fabric of space and time, and a small implosion would occur, destroying everything in a 1-tile radius, including potentially you. But yeah, the idea is you got to collect the 7 pennies in order to make the door appear, and then you need the key to actually get through the door in the first place. And since that crab's just sort of chilling right there, I'm not going to really bother much with the crab there. But let's get the pennies, door will appear. But then we also see that a special yellow coin has appeared, and that's an extra life. So let's go get that extra life. And then we'll go through the door and get to the next level. And this level here starts to introduce some iron stuff, as well as the potential for that crab to become a problem. So it's always a good idea to at least keep the ladder copied, because ladders are very good for dealing with things like crabs. Yes, we transformed the crab into a ladder. Now at this level, the crab is kind of got a lot of free reign as to where it can move. So you do have to be a little careful. Yeah, because it was a little too close to where I was, and so when I tried to transform it, it basically overwrote the ladder that was to the left section there. So yeah, so you got to be a little careful with these tight spaces in terms of using your magical powers. Now, one thing you do have to be careful of is if you make an attempt to implode an enemy, what'll happen is the enemy will respawn wherever the door is. But if the door hasn't shown up yet, it'll just respawn where that door would normally appear. So yeah, so you do have to be careful to some extent in terms of imploding the enemies, that you don't end up getting them in a door section where you're not going to be able to get rid of them following. Now, I would say this is the first actually hard level, especially since I already screwed it up. So go restart it. But yeah, you have to copy the ladder immediately. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck down here, unable to do anything. But we're going to make our way through here. And then at first, it's going to seem pretty straightforward. We just sort of make our way down here, grab the penny over here, and then just keep sort of making our way around, like winding through everything. But once we get up to this upper section here, things start to get a little trickier. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to goad the enemy up here, get it transformed into a ladder. I'll grab that penny, but then as soon as it comes back, I'm going to transform it into a ladder again. Be very careful not to fall up down there completely. Then, oh, he's going to go down there. Well, in that case, I'm going to go grab that penny. Then we'll try to get it to the crab to come up this way. Hopefully it will. There it goes. And then zap. And now the idea is I want to wait for it to be over there, zap it again, and then that gives me a chance to actually get the extra life coin. There we go. And now we can just go for the exit normally. Like, I mean, in this case here, we do want the ladder because we not only have to transform a wall into a ladder, we have to transform this penny into a ladder so that we can actually get up to this key here. Also, notice how this particular level happens to have the walls spelling out the word give up. Not that I'm going to, but I think you get the basic gist. It's basically 50 levels like this in the Shareware version, and registered you would technically have another 50 levels to go with it, well, if you spent like $10 or more on the registration. But the thing is that there's a couple other features of this game that are kind of weird. So one of them I can actually demonstrate from this level. So there's actually a warp zone in this game. But to get to it, you kind of need to have the door appear. So the first thing we need to do is grab all the pennies. Okay, so we've got all the pennies. So the door's appeared. What I actually want to do here is make my way through these walls here. I'm going to copy the door, and then I'm going to zap the door onto the key. And this creates a special warp door. What's going to end up happening here is I'm going to grab this, and it's going to tell me about the warp zone here. And I'm going to die because the crab's there, but that doesn't matter. But if we hit the W key, we transport to the warp zone. So if we want to go to like level 25 or something, yeah, there we go. So we can just go to whatever level we want. And the thing that's interesting is the warp zone will only show doors for the levels that you haven't completed. So when you complete a level, it disappears from this warp zone here. Now, there's actually one last thing to show with this particular game, and it's something I find very interesting for a shareware title like this. Normally when you have a shareware title made by one person, it only really supports one video mode, or if it does support multiple video modes, they're all similar in some way, like the same resolution or something. But if I start up this program with the CGA command line parameter, look at this. It has a 320 by 200 CGA mode, despite the main game normally running in the high-resolution EGA mode. So, yeah, it's actually got an entirely different tile set to be able to accommodate this. So yeah, that's just something I find really interesting, that this game actually supports both modes and needed entirely different graphics to be able to do that, and yet still plays the same regardless of which graphics mode it's in. So yeah, Godmom, very simple puzzle platformer, kind of feels a little like Lode Runner, but with a different mechanic going on. And you know what? It's not bad. So, Apogee and Epic Mega Games were pretty big competitors in terms of the shareware game space in the 90s, but you still had some people trying to do their own take on a similar sort of thing. And what we have here is Vinyl Goddess from Mars. And this game is effectively like 6 Pound Sledge's answer and Union Logic Software Publishing's answer to Jill of the Jungle. And even though it looks, well, not so much yet, but if we were to like go to the order info screen, like this looks like something that would have come from an Epic Mega Games thing. And in fact, the thing is that, well, Union Logic Software Publishing eventually did Radix Beyond the Void, or Into the Void, as it says here, and that was published through Epic, so clearly Epic took notice of the style going on here. Anyways, story. So, in the year 200 billion, a small ship races across the galaxy, taking the Vinyl Goddess from Mars to the esteemed intergalactic B-movie convention. In mid-transit, a meteor shower strikes without warning, and the ship is engulfed in a sea of rocks and debris. Badly damaged by the cosmic storm, the ship careens off course. Desperately, the Vinyl Goddess twists knobs and pulls levers to regain control. The best that she can hope for is to eject and let the ship crash land on the strange planet below. It's up to you to help the lovely goddess find and repair her ship and collect all of her belongings before it's too late to reach the convention. Good luck, space cadets! Yeah, this game doesn't take itself even remotely seriously. It doesn't even have that many options, just joystick and sound. You can't even change the controls. But anyways, let's start it up. And we've got our 3 episodes here, which obviously we can only play the first one. We gotta order the game for the second and third. Now we have 3 skill settings. Don't actually know the difference, so I'm just gonna pick moderate. And very first glance, it feels like Jill of the Jungle, or what was the other one, Zargon? And even the sound effects have some similarities. Anyways, we pick up our first weapon here, which we fire with the Alt key, and then we can jump with the Control key. And right away, this feels so much like Jill of the Jungle, but kinda not. So here's the thing with this game. Even though it's clearly taking off of Jill of the Jungle and has a lot of the same sort of mechanics, it's not as good as Jill of the Jungle. And it's going to be kind of difficult to explain this concisely, but one of the first things you notice when you're playing this game, the controls are very slippery. So like if you just tap the buttons, then it's okay. You just move very small amounts, everything's good. But if you hold for more than just half a second, you start running, and when you let go, you kind of slide to a stop for half a second. And the problem is that if you want to turn around, you still have that slide before you turn around. So it's very difficult to stop exactly where you want to unless you're already stopped and just inching forwards. So right there, that makes it difficult to control yourself. But worse than that, these vines, all you have to do is push left or right and you fall. So to jump off the vines, you hold the jump key, which I am doing, and nothing is happening because now you have to push a direction. So if you screw this up and push a direction first before jump, you fall. The controls take a lot of getting used to in this game. Not to mention, this first weapon you get as an attack, not only do you have limited ammo and you have to pick up swords to get more of it, but the thing is that it has this straight shot. The way it works is there's a straight shot fired and an alternating up and down shot, as you can see from me firing it here. The problem is that straight shot doesn't freaking hit anything. You would think that maybe, oh, duck and fire? No, you can't fire while ducking. So you're kind of stuck with this attack that just doesn't go where you need it to go. Like when I go to attack this thing, look at the straight shots just go right over it. Now fortunately it's not all completely bad because you've got a few things going on. Like we found a continue point right there. So that's nice and handy. And then the game has health pickups and stuff littered all over the place. So even if you do take damage, it's usually not hard to get your health back up. Like there's a health potion right up there. Although I gotta take out this thing first. Okay, so how much does this restore? Oh, that only restores 1 health unit. But the other thing too is you can actually destroy enemy shots with your attacks. At least these initial enemies. Well, not the fire spewing from these things, but then it's so short range you can just sort of run away from that. And there's secrets littered everywhere in these levels here. Usually it's pretty obvious where a secret's going to be because there's some kind of indicator that the secret's going to be there. Okay, here we go. Got a couple shots out of the air there. And now we have a moving platform to jump onto. Thankfully, if you're moving and you jump, you actually do come to a standstill when you land, so you don't slip following a jump. Thankfully. And I think this is a full health restore? Yeah, full health restore. So even though I did lose a bunch of health there, I at least got it back with that big health pickup there. But yeah, this is basically plays just like Jill of the Jungle, but kind of worse, but also kind of better in a few ways. Like the frame rate, for instance, this is running a solid 70 frames a second. Also, I didn't get all the pickups? I thought I got them all. Not to mention, this overworld is kinda half-baked. And I say that because, look, we got a key over there. Let's pick it up. And listen carefully. Did you hear it? No, of course you didn't. It didn't make any sound effects. And there's a gate to open with the key. Listen. Did you hear it? No, you didn't. There are no sound effects on this overworld. Like, you would think you would put sound effects up here if you're putting sound effects in the rest of the game. And then we got the second level here, which is going to give us some more of these daggers to throw and more enemies to defeat. See, I'd keep going, but the thing is that we're just mostly going to be seeing more of the same for the rest of this particular Shareware episode. I don't think there's a lot different beyond the first sort of helping of things going on. Now, I do know that there are some more mechanics that come into play later, but I don't know how much later we have to actually go to get to any of that. And we're kind of getting a pretty good taste of what this game is all about just from this first set of levels here. I mean, the fact that your weapon can barely hit anything because the shots keep flying over everything, and you don't have a means to duck an attack, it makes the game more frustrating than it needs to be. At least with Jill of the Jungle, the dagger it gives you, sure, it flies over stuff too, but you have control over it. Like, it follows your vertical position to some degree in order to make it possible to actually hit just about anything with it, even if it's low to the ground. But here, it's just a straight shot attack that passes over a lot of things, save for that sort of spreading part, but that spreading part alternates. So yeah, Vinyl Goddess from Mars. It's not that it's a bad game, but it's trying to be Jill of the Jungle and kinda missing the mark in terms of what made Jill of the Jungle good, while sort of hitting a few marks on its own, like the higher frame rate and everything, but yeah, it really does come across more as a clone than as its own sort of interesting, well-done product.